Valyrian steel is an ancient metal, one that can no longer be produced during the time period of A Song of Ice and Fire. The secrets of forging this mystical material were lost when the Doom came to Valyria, along with vast sums of magical knowledge. Valyrian steel is far more durable than any other metal, and blades made from the substance are sharper than any other weapon. While Valyrian steel cannot be created as of 300 AC, some gifted metalworkers are able to reforge it. The rarity and quality of Valyrian steel makes it quite expensive and sought after, and Valyrian weapons are often the prized possessions of noble houses. We see a number of such blades in the main series of A Song of Ice and Fire, including Ice, the great sword of House Stark, and Longclaw, the bastard sword of House Mormont, and later of Jon Snow. However, some of the most interesting and storied of these weapons are those not seen in the main series. This video will be diving into the history of one singular sword, owned by House Targaryen, and later theorizing on its current whereabouts in the Winds of Winter. That sword is the legendary Valyrian steel blade, Blackfyre. The forging of Blackfyre seems to predate the doom of Valyria. The Targaryens fled this land after the visions of one Daenys the Dreamer, and they took a number of things with them, including their dragons and likely this blade as well. The first we hear of Blackfyre is as the sword of the Conqueror, the blade with which Aegon Targaryen conquered 6 of the 7 kingdoms. Despite its fearsome reputation, Aegon really didn't use Blackfyre in battle very much during the conquest. Most of these battles just involved Aegon on Dragonback, burning his enemies from a safe distance, which is probably the strategic best move, if not a bit anticlimactic in terms of the conquest of it all. This isn't to diminish Aegon's accomplishments, but rather to show that the sword was more ceremonial than anything else in its initial uses. Blackfyre remained in Aegon I's possession for the remainder of the king's life, eventually passing down through his family line from his son Aenys to his son Maegor and later to his grandson Jaehaerys. During this period, the blade began to be seen as a symbol of Targaryen legitimacy. Whoever was the king bore the sword, and there were no exceptions to this rule. At least that was until the death of King Aegon IV. Aegon IV Targaryen, also called the Unworthy, was a famously awful king. He fathered many illegitimate children and was generally cruel and horrible to all those around him. He really didn't like his firstborn son, Daeron, as Aegon suspected that Daeron was the product of his wife cheating on him with her other brother, which is very gross, but he was also her brother, Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight. Aegon's favorite child was one Daemon Waters. Daemon was far more of a warrior than his half-brother Daeron, and was beloved by the common folk. Aegon, being the worst, undertook a series of actions designed to weaken Daeron's claim to the throne. Firstly, he awarded the sword Blackfyre to Daemon rather than to his firstborn son. This broke almost 2 centuries of Targaryen tradition and signaled to the nobles and the peasantry alike that Daeron should not be considered a legitimate heir to the Iron Throne. What's more, on his deathbed, Aegon IV legitimized all of his bastards, allowing them to inherit. Daemon took the name of the sword as his own, naming himself Daemon Blackfyre. Long story short, a war broke out in the hopes of placing Daemon Blackfyre on the throne. Daemon was killed, and the majority of his forces fled to Essos, led by his brother Aegor Rivers, also called Bittersteel. Over the next 70 years, there would be a series of 5 rebellions in the hopes of placing a descendant of Daemon Blackfyre on the throne. These conflicts would come to be known as the Blackfyre Rebellions. Despite the name of these rebellions, the sword Blackfyre is lost to the historical record sometime between the 3rd and 4th Blackfyre rebellions. It never resurfaces in Westeros, leaving its current whereabouts a mystery. That being said, we have a few hints as to where this legendary sword may reside. The key to Blackfyre's location may lie in the story of young Griff, who is revealed in A Dance with Dragons to be Aegon Targaryen, the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, supposedly. We're already on to the second page of the script in this video, and I'm already talking about my third Aegon of the day, so I apologize for any confusion this may cause, but this is the presumptive Aegon VI that we are now talking about, not the 4th or the 1st. The most common theory about this new claimant on the Iron Throne is that he's a Blackfyre who is claiming to be a Targaryen. This is supported by a wide array of evidence. Firstly, Illyrio Mopatis specifically tells Tyrion that the Blackfyre line is only extinct in the female line, leaving the possibility of a new claimant descended from that line wide open. Additionally, Dany has a series of visions in the House of the Undying. One of these visions features a cloth dragon swaying above cheering crowds on poles. This signals that there might be another dragon in her story, a false dragon. The phrase, false dragon, is also used by the Red Priest Makoro, who has a number of prophecies given throughout A Dance with Dragons. There are a number of great videos on this topic that I'd suggest, most importantly, Alt-Shift-X's Varys video, which is a very comprehensive and complete version of this theory that I quite like. All of that being said, there are a number of hints that Blackfyre might be in the possession of the Aegon cause. In a draft of Tyrion's second chapter in A Dance with Dragons, he overhears Illyrio stating that he has gifts for young Griff, including talk of a sword. This would line up with Blackfyre last being seen in the east and in the possession of the Blackfyres, and given that it was in the possession of Bittersteel and his mercenary group, the Golden Company. Speaking of the Golden Company, that same army now supports Aegon's claim, primarily due to, quote from Illyrio Mopatis in the actual Dance with Dragons, debts writ in blood, which is quite strange, as sellsword companies normally fight exclusively for coin, whereas the Golden Company has abandoned a paying contract for the sake of blood, which makes it seem as though they have a very distinct tie to this new Aegon. Further evidence for Illyrio having Blackfyre or giving it to young Griff has also recently come to light. In drafts of A Feast for Crows, discovered by Reddit user GSteph, Halden Halfmaester discusses 3 treasures of House Blackfyre. The most valuable of these was said to be a clutch of dragon eggs. If Illyrio is indeed a Blackfyre supporter, these could have been the same eggs given to Daenerys in A Game of Thrones. The other two treasures are not specifically mentioned, but if they are brought up in the same breath as dragon eggs, it stands to reason that they're similarly valuable to these priceless treasures. So where does all of this leave the sword Blackfyre now? Young Griff was hiding his identity in Essos. Possessing the sword would instantly give away who he was and what he was trying to do. However, as of the end of A Dance with Dragons, Aegon has landed in the Stormlands. We know that, according to Halden in the most recent Aegon chapter from the Winds of Winter, his forces have laid claim to Storm's End, and he means to meet Mace Tyrell's army in open combat. What's more, we know from Jon Connington's last chapter in Dance that Aegon means to lead the charge of this attack himself. This is Aegon's moment, the first time he'll be truly revealed to Westeros, a Targaryen come again to lay claim to his rightful seat. This claim will be even further strengthened by holding the lost sword Blackfyre, a long-forgotten vestige of Targaryen power from the distant past. So where do I think the sword Blackfyre is right now? I believe it is in Storm's End, held by Aegon, or potentially held by Halden or Jon Connington, to give to Aegon in preparation for this battle, to prove that he is a legitimate Targaryen. Overall, it does make sense that it would be with this group of people, as Illyrio does not seem to be leaving Essos to aid this claim in any way, so it makes sense that he would pass it along to Aegon or to his supporters to give to Aegon in the event of a battle. My idea for Blackfyre being in Storm's End actually comes from a bit of an unusual source. YouTubist Glidus created a video where he quizzed other Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers on a variety of insane fan theories, both real and made up by him for the purposes of the video. If you haven't seen it, you absolutely should check it out. It's probably one of my favorite videos on the platform, and it's linked in the cards. That said, one of the fake theories that he made up for the quiz was that Blackfyre was in Storm's End. As of the last time we hear from the Aegon camp in the Aegon chapter of Winds, the young claimant's forces are currently occupying Storm's End. So if this sword truly was last in the possession of the Blackfyres, it may well be in Storm's End, given to Aegon by Halden or Connington in preparation for the Battle of Steel, which may or may not happen, but that is another one of my theories that we do not have time for today. But overall, I think I've kind of gaslit myself into believing this one, but overall, I do think Blackfyre is probably in Storm's End. The other part of my inspiration for making this video comes from House of the Dragon. In the Season 1 finale, there's a line from Otto Hightower that seems to have some significance, at least symbolically, to the future story of A Song of Ice and Fire. When Rhaenyra and Otto have their confrontation on the bridge at Dragonstone, Otto informs her that Aegon has already been made king. He insists that, quote, Aegon Targaryen sits the Iron Throne. He wears the Conqueror's crown, wields the Conqueror's sword, has the Conqueror's name. He was anointed by a septon of the faith before the eyes of thousands. Every symbol of legitimacy belongs to him. I did not do that as well as Rhys Ifans did, but you get the picture. Martin has consistently referenced the fact that there will be a second Dance of the Dragons in A Song of Ice and Fire. At present, that seems to be the brewing conflict between Aegon and Daenerys. I believe that Otto's speech in the Season 1 finale of House of the Dragon comments on the main similarity that will occur between both time periods. A king named Aegon, sorry for mentioning the fourth Aegon of the video, I promise it's the last one, will be in the right place at the right time, and he'll be crowned before his female relative who has a better claim on the throne. What's more, it seems quite likely that Aegon will possess a large number of symbols of legitimacy. Blackfyre being one of them. Additionally, he may have the support of Dorne and potentially the Reach. Cersei is wildly unpopular, and overthrowing her may cause the common folk to view Aegon as a conquering hero, as his ancestor was before him. Daenerys, coming from the east with her Dothraki horde, may be viewed with fear by the common people, especially if Aegon has already become their king. Dragons may be one important symbol of legitimacy that Daenerys possesses, but dragons really haven't done anything positive for the common people ever. They're very likely to add to the fear that the Dragon Queen may bring as she crosses the narrow sea. Otto's speech brings up one other interesting object that could be tied into Aegon's legitimacy, that being the crown of the Conqueror, another long-lost vestige associated with Targaryen power. Aegon the Conqueror's ruby-inlaid crown vanished during Daeron I's attempted conquest of Dorne. The king wore it throughout the conflict, was killed, and was never heard from again. However, the one kingdom that is currently directly dealing with Aegon at the moment is Dorne. If any noble house or noble kingdom is going to possess the crown and potentially be able to give it to Aegon, it's going to be Dorne. Many have suggested that Aegon is going to attempt to seduce Aegon, and what better way to seal a marriage pact than with a crown of the long-lost Conqueror? This might not be something that Aegon has with her at the moment. We have 2 chapters from her from Winds, and she doesn't make any mention of it. But it does seem quite likely that Doran might still have it, and he might send it up to King's Landing for the wedding and for Aegon's official crowning. This would be the final piece of the puzzle, the final element of Aegon's legitimacy to fall into place and truly cement him as the rightful king of Westeros in the eyes of the common people. So, this has been my thoughts as to where Blackfyre is, the role it might play in the stories to come, and what is to come next for Aegon after the battle or not battle of Storm's End in the Winds of Winter. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has ended up a bit longer than I expected. I ended up talking about just Blackfyre, but I did want to talk about Dark Sister as well, which I do have some thoughts on. So if you'd want to see that, I'd love to hear that. Be sure to let me know in the comments. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate it. Really helps the channel grow, all that typical YouTube stuff. I will have more stuff coming up in the near future, and I thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a nice day.